Hello, and today we'll continue with this bonus epilogue of Hearthfire. And I'm going to recap everything last time, but basically, Tarwak is staying with Quiz for a certain amount of time, and Quiz is getting Tarwak acclimated to urban life in the United States. Well, I wouldn't even call it like United States, but like just urban life in general, because if Tarwak was in a big major city in Canada, he would have gone to the same issues he's going through right now with Chris here in this city in Seattle, Washington. Well, I assume it's Seattle, I guess. It's Washington State, so I guess Seattle or one of those suburbs. Anyway, yeah, he's been in a small little village his entire life, so he's in an urban city now, and he's not used to all the many people and all the stores and all the everything is in excess. It's excessive here in this urban life for Tarmac as opposed to being in a small village where there's not a lot of stuff. Just basically a few people there, but it's mainly you mainly have to depend on yourself. So Plus, it's hot. He's getting used to the hot weather in the U.S. as opposed to like Canada, where it's cold all the time. Well, in his village anyway. So we're gonna go ahead and continue with fire. Well, we're finally here. The myriad scents coming from the food court was like a train wreck for the nose. A delicious train wreck. Tarwak shared my sentiments, the big bear's amber eyes widening as he looked from stall to stall. Amusingly, this kind of excess didn't bother him. A small rivulet of drool started to form from the corner of his mouth. I have never smelled. He let the thought trail, his delayed gaze practically reflecting illuminated menu boards. While Tarwak was ogling the food, my attention flowed to a stop at the corner. The smell of freshly roasted coffee pushed everything else to the back of my mind. Tarwak had broken from his reverie long enough to notice me staring. A wide smile pulled at the corners of his muzzle. You already had coffee today. I shrugged innocently, if not a little bashfully. I mean, a little more can't hurt, right? He put his hands on his hips, shaking his head in playful disparagement. You should drink less. Yuka has told me your habits. I let out a soft itch under my breath. That little rat. Daryl has also mentioned as much. I feel like I'm being ganged up on, heat rising under my collar. Since when have you been talking to him? It was half an accusation and half curiosity as I gave him a look. While you have been at work. Oh, he offers to spend time with me, so I am not alone. Huh? That was a nice guy, but I'm surprised he's going so far out of his way. What's the strategy to avoid being snapped in half by the new boyfriend? Who could tell? What do you guys usually talk about? Thomas' distracted gaze drifted away from the food stalls. Taking a moment to process my question, he shows me internet jokes. Tarek pauses his brow furrowing as gears turn. I think he has called them mess. Oh dear. The big bear fidgeted slightly, a few fingers scratching at his midsection. Food, right? If you're okay with it, we can split up. I can go get my coffee and you can grab whatever you like. Thomas head tilted back as he regarded me. Oh, you sure that is wise? What do you mean? You should eat as well. We have been walking. We will have activities later. His eyes narrowed. Coffee is not a substitute for a meal. I was caught out. It must have reflected on my face because he squinted harder. He has also told me you skip meals. Only a few. The bear snorted, blowing a gust of air from those padded nostrils. If I didn't know any better, I would say he was offended on Sunday. You should skip none, Chris. 3 meals a day are important. You cannot be healthy without them. His narrow-eyed gaze turned conspiratorial as he stared at me. Was your atomic isket the only one where you ate properly? I sputtered, face flushing. I tugged on my collar, averting my gaze quickly. Hey, food is expensive, okay? I'm not exactly flush with money. Coffee's kind of like, meal extender, you know? He closed his eyes, hands going to his hips as he shook his head. You can make healthy meals with a variety of ingredients. Chris, I love you, but you need to take better care of yourself. My cheeks burned as I sank into the collar of my shirt. That little phrase made the words sting even more, embarrassment pricking down my spine like needles. I will buy you food. Tell me what you wish to eat. It's okay, Tom. They've got food at the shop too. I'll just grab a breakfast sandwich while I'm here. He didn't seem too happy with it, but the compromise seemed to fly as he reluctantly nodded. I'll meet you in the center when I'm done, okay? He nodded, his accent, his bulk parting the crowds as he bowed through the waves of people. As for me, I beelined for the coffee corner. There was a fairly long line with plenty of bored-looking patrons with their faces on their phones. Next, I didn't even realize I was trailing behind, my feet having automatically shuffled, my mind wandering. My eyes widened as I stared at the barista, my jaw dropping. Daryl? The line returned my look of shock, freezing mid-scribble with his marker on a plastic cup. Hey, Chris. His awkward laugh come out as a bark, the line setting down the cup to rub the back of his head. Are you serious right now? I pointed to the green smock hugging tightly to his chest. It was irritatingly attractive. The curvature of his pecs pushed out the front in a way that should have kept him working far in the back. What? I cut him off, slapping my hands on the countertop. You tell me to stop drinking coffee, but you work in a den of evil, Daryl? My accusation came out like a knife, flung right into the burly lion's chest. He took a step back as silly as if it had actually stabbed him. You don't even like the stuff. Keep your voice down, he said through grit teeth, trying to keep a semblance of a smile. What are you even doing here? I asked, trying to push the edge of my voice down. Are you on the football team? Doesn't that pay? Dude, no. We can't even take money from people. Huh? Wait, really? Aren't sponsorships a thing? No. His gaze shifted nervously, almost as if someone was about to jump out and get him. Dude, let's see you here. But please just order something. The hint of desperation was palpable, only punctuated by the murmuring sound of the crowd behind me. Not bad, a little too detailed, but sounds nice. Cappuccino. Coffee black. A classic. Can't really go wrong with a punch to the palate. Though ice might be a good idea considering it's summer. Tomak's words echoed in my mind. A breakfast sandwich too? Sure thing, dude. When I tapped on my phone, I paid for the meal. I shuffled awkwardly off to the side, hands going into my pockets. I wonder what Tomak was up to. Did he manage to figure out what he wanted? Even with his large size, the swell of crowds made it difficult to find him. Guess I just have to wait. A few more customers went by, some of them getting their drinks before mine. I prickled with a small amount of jealousy, but I pushed it down. This is how this sort of thing worked. Easier orders get finished faster. Chris Smith. The lion called out the name with more gusto than required. A toothy grin pulled across his muzzle. His meaty mint was my drink, ice clattering around alluringly in the cup. The first few sips hit me right in the receptors. A wave of relief rushed through me as caffeine sensually stroked my tongue. Darrow shook his head, arms crossed over his chest as he gave me an amused look. Alright, so it's kinda cute. I nearly spat some of my drink. What? He gestured, pointing from the straw to my snout. The face you make when you get your first sip. My ears folded back as I became uncomfortably self-aware. Darrow held up his hands disarmingly, his hip leaning against the countertop. Hey, ain't that bad thing. You're not going cross-eyed or anything. I huffed softly, heat radiating up my neck. Saying stuff like that when my boyfriend is across the room. Dangerous game. He snorted sharply, taking my jab in stride. What, can a guy drop a compliment? Besides, you know I'm not trying anything. He clapped a hand against his chest. I had to look away from the way that peck jiggled on his skin-tight smock. I'm not a house wrecker, dude. He tilted his head back, giving me a toothy grin. It doesn't stop me from complimenting the decor, though. My face grunts. Eloquent. He flashed me a charismatic set of finger guns. Cause there's a case, baby. He cocked his head over his shoulder. Hey, Brittany, cover the rest of myself, yeah? The maiden wolf or the other end of the counter pursed her lips, but otherwise didn't object. Legs first, Darrow threw himself over the countertop, peeling his apron off in one swift motion and tossing it into the back. He landed in front of me in a spot, sighing before stretching his arms over his head. Damn, feels good to move around. Being stuck in that same spot all morning. You're leaving yourself just like that? Yeah, I only have about 30 minutes left anyway. Brittany is cool. She doesn't mind covering people's selves. I noticed a scowl being thrown his way, says nothing. Darrow's arm looked into mine just as I grabbed my food from the countertop, and let out a squeak of surprise as I was suddenly dragged along. So, did you bring the big dude along with you too, Tarak? Uh-huh. He was still grinning, radiating with unbounded enthusiasm. Honestly, the brilliance was a little blinding. I took a sip of coffee as a consolation for my senses. You're pretty friendly with him, I said inquiringly, tested the waters with the big lion as we walked. He said you visit when I'm off at work. That's true. He shrugged his broad shoulders, grin unfaltering. Yeah, I got a few hours between the end of my shift and yours, so I offered to hang out with him. He doesn't have a phone. I just knocked at the door. He paused for a moment, stepped slowly, though it would probably be better if he did have a phone. He shook his head, tied back mane swaying around behind it. Thoughts for later, though. I'm so fucking pumped to go to the beach. That would explain why he was about to burst at the seams. It's been a long time since I'll see him this excitable. Still, his energy was infectious. I found myself smiling even as I took another sip. So, how did you even land this job anyway? Or just applied? He said with a laugh, as if landing a job wasn't a big deal. Like, I threw my resume at just about every shop in the area. I got a lot of callbacks, but I had to turn down most of them. They only wanted to hire me because they knew my name. And then you get in trouble with the football police, right? His expression screwed up, the big cat laughing. Yeah, something like that. But the owner of this shop had no idea who I was. Dude grilled me pretty good on our interview, but I got the job. I don't think I've ever seen you touch a cup of coffee, let alone pour one. Hey, I got you cups of coffee plenty of times. I opened my mouth to shoot back and reply, but found myself stimming. Besides, experience wasn't a problem. They trained me up. Turns out I'm a pretty fast learner. I could tell he was genuinely proud of himself. I was probably one of the few people who's told about this part-time job. Being a college football star, this probably wasn't worth peanuts to most who would listen. So yeah, I could probably brew something special for you sometime. He snapped the finger, grinned widening. Just say the word, dude. I stared at him before deadpan asking, "Are you flirting with me?" He held the pose even as the color seemed to drain from his face. The lion's ears pinned back, a genuine fear started to settle into his eyes. What? I gave him a little push with my shoulder. Turns out the unbalanced lion wasn't ready for that. The otherwise unmovable feline staggered a few steps. Hey! Though his ire cut short at the sight of my set-eating grin. Oh, that ain't fucking fair, isn't it? He exhaled through his nostrils, the lion's color having returned this time with a little extra pink. So, this is the new quiz, huh? The one that survived blizzards and mountains. And wolves, can't forget those. We both stared, a good snicker, finding a pair of seats around the middle of the food court. I turned my gaze to the brawny cat as I rifled through the small paper bag. So, he glanced pretty hard there. He snorted sharply, leaning on the back legs of his plastic chair. Yeah, dude, you scared the shit out of me, he said with a nervous laugh. You know that I know better than to hit on you like that, because Tarek threatened to snap you in half. See, the new quiz is a lot more forward than I remember. He tilted his head back, continuing to watch me with a knee braced on the end of the table. That's cool. He paused, reconsidering his words. Like, not the trauma stuff, but you kinda, I don't know, found yourself? He shook his head. But nah, your lumberjack boyfriend could make good on his threat. Fisherman? Yeah, there. But now, I don't want to ruin what we got going here. He waved between us with a clawed figure for emphasis. You and me, friends to the end, dude. I couldn't bite back the laugh that bubbled out of me. God, you're so corny. He shrugged unapologetically. Part of the charm, dude. You're probably gonna kill whoever you date next with it. I took a bite of my sandwich, having finally freed it from its paper prison. It tasted pretty good. The bacon was crisp, and the cheese melted well with the egg. Looking back at Daryl, I noticed that the mirth had bled out of him. His smile faded. What? I asked, my mouth still half full. Did I say something? He cringed as if tasting something bitter. I don't know, dude. I'm gonna be out of the market for a while. I frowned, putting my sandwich down. Right as I was about to say something, I spotted a bobbing mountain of white navigating through the throng of bustling crowds. Tarwack spotted us, golden eyes flashing a full head and shoulders above everyone else. He approached, pulling out one of the chairs. He stopped mid-move to sit down and eyeing it suspiciously. The huge bear pulled a second seat and sat down on both. Hey, big dude. He swung a fist into Tarek's shoulder for all the good that it did. Ow. His tone was hilariously flat. Man, I bet he didn't even feel that. He gave his hand a ginger shake. My knuckles still did, though, Wolf. Tarek stood idly. I am large. The catch-all statement applied to just about everything involving Tarek. He had a plastic bag with him. It was one of those generic ones with red text reading "Thank you" printed several times over it. Curiously, he slid a few trays from the plastic and onto his side of the table. Sushi? I eyed him with surprise. You know what that is, right? I do not. He wiggled the end of his thickly padded nose. It smelled good. Leave it to the stubborn, obsessed bear to find the lone sushi stall. I hope you don't mind eating raw fish. He looked down at the neatly packaged rolls, lifting a brow. I have never eaten raw salmon before. I mean, it's pretty safe to eat. Most places flash freeze the meat so any parasites that... Daryl was making a face. What? Don't turn him off, dude. The lion turned to Tarek, his chair squeaking. Sushi's a great source of protein, man. Plus it tastes great. Just dip it in some soy sauce and enjoy, my dude. It soon Tarek's hunger overrode apprehension. The bear's nose jumped, a little bit of saliva glistening his tongue as he lit his lips. He pulled a slim paper out of the packaging, tearing it open curiously. Sticks? Yeah, you break 'em. Wait. I waved frantically, Tarek's hands on either end of the poor set of chopsticks, ready to crack them clean in half. The bewildered bear stared at me, blinking a few times, hands still locked in place. Gingerly I took them from my fingers The bewildered bear
tax credits that
The bewildered bear stared at me, blinking a few times, hands still locked in place. Gingerly I took them from between fingers nearly as thick as my wrist. Here, he break them apart like this. He watched with unbridled curiosity as I popped the pair apart. Now you position them in your hands, like this. Slipping them into my fingers was a natural and fluid process, but I did my best to slow it down for Tarek. I gave them a little pinch, tapping the ends together to give them an idea how it works. And then you use it to pick up your sushi. I beamed, handing the chopsticks back to their owner. Tarek struggled at first, large fingers wrapping around the diminutive toothpicks. Daryl snorted, the lion leaning a little further back in his chair. I just popped them straight in my mouth. My brows flattened. Don't be uncultured. The lion casually shrugged. It's all going to the same place, Avery, dude. Don't see why treating it like finger food is such a bad thing. Despite the alternative, Tarek seemed determined to master the way of the sticks. He experimentally flexed his thick digits, working his leverage. Surprisingly, he was getting the hang of it. I flashed him an encouraging smile as he went for one of the rolls. With a swift motion, he managed to pop it into his mouth, chewing a bit. Instantly, his eyes lit up, round ears perking adorably. This is good. It was a blunt phrase, but radiated with reverence. Why don't you try it with soy sauce? I adjusted the packet in a small tin cup. Tarek sampled another, dipping it before popping it into his mouth. His deep rumbling bordered on a purr, the big bear nodding appreciatively as he chewed. I'm glad you I'm glad you're not trying to take multiple bites out of a single roll. I cringed, remembering the one and only time my mother had tried sushi. Tyrek quirked his head to one side. Is it too small to do otherwise? Heh, dude's got a big mouth. Bet that's pretty good for. Oh. I kept his sin under the table before he could finish that sentence. It nearly sent the line toppling over backward from his precariously leaning seat. Don't forget the wasabi. It's a little hot, but you might like it. Tawak stopped mid-bite, his mouth open, the roll hovering just inside the carnivor's depths. Curiously, he dipped it into the bright green paste before taking a bite. The bear started an unpleasant expression washing over his face. Oh, I guess you're not one for heat, huh? He shook his head, coughing before taking a swig from a bottle of water. It is very flavorful. Jesus fuck. Daryl hissed, rubbing at his abused sin. Dude quit strikes again. I puffed my chest out proudly, wearing my best smug smile. I might have learned a few things dealing with a bratty wolf. Torwak snorted sharply, nearly inhaling another piece of sushi. Do not let him hear you say this. Yeah, you're right. I'd rather not lose my earring. Or I'd rather not lose my hearing. See? We both snickered, something of an inside joke that left Daryl perplexed. I'm out of the loop. Who you guys talking about? Nobody important. Oof, I can practically feel Yuka shattering into 1,000 pieces. All of them screaming in high pitch. I couldn't decide if it was funny or sad. I stuffed the rest of my sandwich, washing it down with the last of my coffee. Toak had already devoured his lunch, the bear looking incredibly satisfied as a hand stroked idly over his belly. So, are we ready to go to the beach? We've already got new clothes for Ton. Bathroom. The sudden interruption had us staring. Chairs scooted as he stood, belly practically rolling over the edge of the table. I will be back soon. Tarmac flashed me a gentle smile before heading off, weaving his way through the undulating crowds. Daryl turned back to me, his broad shoulders going up in a slow shrug. He's got the right idea. Ain't like there's a bathroom where we're going. Is it a secluded spot? Uh-huh. We gotta do a little bit of, off-roading to get there. I don't like how that sounds. He lets out a dismissive noise. Don't worry too much, dude. It'll be fine, promise. I rolled my eyes, but something else had been bothering me. He said something about not being on the market. He tensed slightly. Are you okay? You're still not hung up about us breaking up, right? My voice wavered slightly at the topic, trying to broach it as gingerly as possible. Besides the heart-to-heart we had on the way back from Canada, we haven't talked much about it. Daryl's jaw flexed, tensing as he rolled his fingers along the edge of the table. It's fine, dude. He paused to collect his thoughts. Would it be corny if I said, there ain't nobody else like you? I snorted sharply. That's not just corn, it's in the entire field. Daryl broke into a wan smile, a single note laugh coming out of him. Yeah, I mean, I can't really be dating guys anyway. Maybe not for a long time. He muttered softly, squeezing his arm. Because if you go pro, I let the question hang. Yeah, there's never been any open guys in the NFL. Only after they retired, when they couldn't get their career ruined. He rubbed the back of his neck as he leaned into his chair. You don't know what it's like, man. Like the locker room culture. Dudes will freak if they even think you're checking them out. One of the last bastions of toxic masculinity, I guess. I can see that. Still, it doesn't stop me from feeling bad for Daryl. He was professionally good at something, but hamstrung his love life. That's gotta be hell for you. All those hunky guys walking around naked. Daryl's brows arched as he scoffed. Hey, I like my dudes a little slimmer and shapely. Though, our cornerback has a pretty good ass. Seriously? He shrugged, smiled widely. Dude's a tiger. Got stripes that go all the way down. I gotta avoid being a sour when he's around. You're kidding. Sorta, but not really. His grin turned toothy. Can't I enjoy a good ass? You getting jealous? I shook my head, taking the last drag of my iced coffee. But anyway, we're gonna have a good cookout at the beach. It's gonna be fucking fantastic. I got a portable grill I'm bringing along and everything. Haven't used it in ever. Hopefully it still works. Yeah, dude. I got it all tanked up this morning. I am back. Daryl let out a distinctly startled feline sound as he jumped. Tarek interrupted his tumble to the floor, the bear's hands grasping the back of the chair just before the line spilled out. I see. Chris is not the only jumpy one. Hey. I puffed my cheeks, pretending to pout. Holy shit. Are you a ghost or something? Tarek stared straight down at him, looming. Do you say this because I'm white? The lion sputtered, half realizing that his life was in Tarek's hands. Or rather, an unexpected meeting with the grubby tile floor. I cleared my throat, saving face for Daryl. Tarek is surprisingly sneaky for someone his size. The big bear shrugged his shoulders. I am large. Tarek placed Daryl upright before retaking his seat beside us. I still need to figure out the math on how that makes you stealthy. Perhaps it is a hunter's instinct from my ancestors. Or maybe you enjoy startling people. The quirking corner of his muzzle clued me into the actual reason. So, dudes, you guys ready to hit the beach? Tarek blinked, tilting his head. Hit. As the beach aggressive, I opened my mouth to elucidate, but was beaten to the punch. What's my honor, dude? I got shit all planned out. Like I was telling Chris, I got a grill I'm dragging along. I got hots, brats, and all sorts of snacks. We got food to bust, and I've got a whole cooler full of drinks. I squinted at the exuberant lion. What kind of drinks? Daryl scoffed, his brows arching indignantly. Soda, water, you know. Some beers. Nothing too wild. Tarek tilted his head. I have never drunk before. The lion's ears perked. Seriously, never? He shook his head. Neither of my parents consumed alcohol. I have never had reason to try. I'm surprised. You are? Wasn't there alcohol when we were stuck overnight with Yuka? He didn't drink any. I distinctly remembered the aftermath of that one. Yuka's morning encounter with his toilet made it unforgettable. Tarek shook his head slowly. I did not. There was little left. The end of his padded nose wiggled as if he caught a whiff of something unpleasant. I did not wish to try it. I can't really blame him. The only thing I've ever tried were those fruity cocktails. I'm pretty sure there's more sugar than alcohol in those. Well, I got my truck waiting out back. Just gotta stop for some ice before we get there. We got up from our chairs, following Daryl out of the food court and a little convoy. At least Tarek seemed more relaxed now. It helped that the crowds had thinned out as we moved to the back end of the mall. One of the last few stores before the exit was a popular phone shop. Tawak eyed it curiously, his march slowing. "What's up?" He let out a low, thoughtful rumble. Daryl took notice, wheeling around on his heel, following Tawak's gaze. "Oh shit. You still need to get a phone, yeah?" Tawak scratched at his cheek. "No. Should I? I would not know how to use one." Daryl's eyes lit up like a kid's in a candy store. He hit the bear's arm, pulling him off balance with his own considerable strength. I hustled after them, nearly tripping over my own feet. Tawak looked like he was in little better straits, clearly not used to being handled like that. He wasn't released until Daryl wrangled a confused-looking storekeeper. The vixen at the counter tried to keep her smile straight, but she was clearly just as off-kilter, with a pair of large men staring her down. "Can I help you, gentlemen?" She was really stressing the title, her hands clasped placatingly together. Daryl slapped Tomak's broad back, the crack echoing across the sword shop. I could have sworn I saw him sway an inch forward. "I just need to add a line to my account." I nearly choked on my own spit. "You're not seriously buying him a phone?" "Why not? It's free if I open up a new line." My mouth hung open from the audacity. "You're going to open a whole line? Doesn't that cost you more down the line?" He snorted. "Yeah, I'll deal with it later, dude." I massaged my brow as they went to work getting Tawak a device he had no idea how to use. I tried not to think about how badly this could turn out between his man-crushing hands and those tight swords. I cringed, imagining Tawak slipping it into his back pocket and sitting on the poor thing. Before I knew it, a shiny new rectangle was in Tawak's hand. They were practically hovering in his orbit. "So you just type at a button on the screen." Tawak furrowed his brow. "On glass, there are no buttons." His eyes widened as Daryl tapped the screen, working around Tawak's fat fingers. "Oh, I see." It was a miracle he didn't smother half of the phone with one of those thumbs. I pulled out my phone, a text from an unknown number. "Hello, Chud." My eyes narrowed at the troublesome pair. Daryl was snickering up a storm. Tomak's tongue poked out the side of his mouth as he tried to type it again. "Hello." "Hi, Tomak." He shook his head quickly. We were no longer communicating verbally. "Well, message me." The damn burst. Daryl cackling as he clapped Tomak's shoulder. "See, told you it was a good idea." "Do you see my messages, Chase?" I could feel my face willing itself to cave inwards. Did it seriously auto-correct my name? The one thing you probably typed correctly? I think I like Chud better. He stood the grin was fit to split his face. His ears folded back, the bear loosened some of his excitement as he lowered his newest toy. "I'm sorry. I did not mean to upset you." He seemed genuinely saddened, guilt settling into the pit of my stomach like a stone. I sighed, unable to bear the weight of my conscience. My phone clicked softly as I tapped a response. "It's okay, I'm not upset." I quickly jotted out something else. That was probably right. It's a good idea that you have a phone so we can stay in contact. Tarak's phone chimed in his expansive palm, the bear lighting up as his round ears lifted. "Yeah, I wouldn't worry about him. He gets grumpy at the drop of a hat." I puffed my cheeks indignantly. What's that supposed to mean? The lion shrugged nonchalantly, determined to let the accusation hang. "Come on, we gotta get going. Don't want to waste any more of that beautiful summer sun, eh?" Tarek was still playing with his phone, even as we walked out of the mall, pushing out of the doors into the scorching parking lot. The sunlight was so blinding that I had to squint, my eyes adjusting for the relative shade of the indoor mall. Led across the ocean of asphalt, we stopped at a secluded corner where his truck sat. The bottoms of his sneakers were trying to melt. I popped the door to the truck, but something struck me as, oh, wait, where's Tom going to sit? There's no room up front. Oh, that's easy. The lion laughed, already a foot on the railing. I'd already made room in the back. The back? I turned my head, staring incredulously at the back, at the bed of the truck. You're joking. He can't sit back there. Why not? Dude is the only place he's gonna fit. He already had one leg into the back, suspensing groaning from the added weight. I did not mind. The wobbling truck made Daryl's eyes go wide. The cat gripped the door frantically as his tail frisked. I swear I could see the tires lifting. I swear I could see the tires lift a hair from the ground as the truck strayed. It's just how I traveled here. What? He nestled himself into the bed, sitting cross-legged. Hallie gave me a blanket so I could not be cold. We also played a game. She would knock on the window, and I would hide. It was fun. Was he smuggling him? You didn't skip the border, did you? He hummed thoughtfully, scratching at his chin. I do not remember. I was asleep. Oh no. Well, Devil smiled, clapping his hands together. I'd always wanted to meet an alien. I think you mean illegal. Still out of this world. It took a second, but Tarek let out a booming guffaw. I think I have a headache. Yeah, I got something for that in the glove box. Now come on, the beach is chilling. Okay, so we're gonna stop by here. So it looks like Hallie crossed the border. Hallie helped Tarek with crossing the border without, going through customs or getting documentation. They just came in here, illegally. Given the current state of the country, and I'm not gonna get into it, but it kind of reminded me of what's going on right now with, with illegals being rounded up by the government and all that. So it kind of reminded me of what's going on right now, but I'm not gonna get into it. Hopefully, they don't get Tarek. But anyway, so we got the mall portion of the update all the way, so we're gonna get to the beach next time. So a big part of the update was about, well, in my opinion, was about what Daryl said about the locker room culture. And despite all the changes that have been made in society, society becoming more accepting of gay people, homosexuality, there's still some places where that's not accepted, despite all the changes. And, NFL locker room culture is kind of the macho male culture, to be gay is for you to be weak. And, it's still an environment where you gotta be a tough guy. You gotta be this big, tough, aggressive guy. And if you have any behavior or traits that is considered feminine or girly, then you won't be accepted. You'll be ostracized. You'll be picked on, and people, football players, your fellow football players will try to make it difficult for you if you try to if you have that kind of behavior in the locker room. So it's very conflicting for Devil because he still wants to be with Chris. However, because of his career choice and his dreams of being in the NFL, that's practically impossible really to do without any without any without any controversy stirring up. So and like Daryl said, it might be a while until he finds somebody else to be with. It probably won't be until after the NFL, if it works out for him, being in the NFL. So yeah, that's a big reason. That's a big reason why their relationship fell apart because of the football, football and the culture there was just not accepting of was not accepting of gay relationships. So personally, I think they should just be friends. Friends with benefits. I mean, I think they can do some intimate things together, but just on the low. I mean, given that Chris is in a relationship with Tarek now, I mean, Chris will have to ask Tarek if he's okay with Chris, still doing some intimate things with his ex-boyfriend now. Yeah, it really is something that makes Daryl sad. He wants to be with Chris, but his dream of being in the NFL prevents him from doing that. The culture itself. So I feel bad for Daryl. My only hope for Daryl is that maybe once he gets to the NFL itself, maybe it won't be as bad as he thought. Maybe there'll be a few other guys in there who are in the same predicament as he is. They're also gay and they also afraid that if they express themselves, who they really are, then there'll be consequences from the other teammates. The other teammates will not approve of it and will make a big fuss about it and will probably try to make things bad for those teammates who are gay. So hopefully there are others like Daryl that Daryl can, talk to and maybe have a relationship with them also. That could be a possibility. So Tomac, he's having difficulty learning how to use a phone, but I think he's starting to get the hang of it. Like when he looked at the phone and Daryl told him to press the buttons, he said, Tomac said it's all glass and no buttons. And then once Daryl, demonstrated how to use it, that's when Tomac figured it out. So yeah, this modern technology is something Tarek is not really used to because he's been so isolated his entire life in that little village, and plus with the brutal winter weather, that they get. It makes the village even more isolated because, a lot of times they can get blizzards and you can't leave for days on out. Like when Chris was up there with him, the reason why they couldn't leave the village because it was too dangerous for them to leave. Well, with the blizzard conditions. So, and plus, I wonder how big exactly is Tarek compared to Devil and Chris. I don't know, but apparently he was so big that he couldn't fit in the truck, that he had to fit in the bed of the truck, and that Tarek's weight was so much that the truck began to lift, lift up. I don't know if the truck lifted up, but the tires suddenly were affected in some way. So, yeah. So, we're gonna go to the beach in the next episode, and I think the next video will be the final one for this epilogue. Either the next one will be the final one, or not. There'll definitely be two more. Like there'll be the next one and the one afterwards. But I think this beach portion of the epilogue will be the final one. So yeah. So thank you all very much for watching. Goodbye.